Hello, hello, and welcome to Tinkering with Jared. Welcome to my spare bedroom, my laboratory, my sanctum. Today we're going to be talking about the Creality K1 Max, a really fantastic printer. I think it's certainly the K1 series in general. When it first released, loads of issues. The extruder was a bit weird. The top on these things, certainly with the PTFE tubing here, was compressing itself. People had print issues. People had the extruder sort of not necessarily feeding filament properly. So many issues. A lot of that stuff has been resolved. I've been using predominantly Orca Slicer, but I've been tinkering with Creality Print, and certainly with the last couple of updates in the last couple of weeks or so, I think it's pretty good. I actually am probably going to switch to Creality Print full time at this point, just for the ease of use. To be honest with you, I think it is fairly robust for most things that you want to do. If you're using Creality Hyper Series filaments with this, which I would certainly recommend because their profiles are pretty good. You don't need to tinker so much, but it does give you the option to tinker, and there's a lot of room and maneuverability within that. I like Orca for its calibration testing and things like that, but by and large, I think Creality's come a long way with their printers. I mean, even the new Ender, and that was an option. I was thinking about maybe getting the latest Ender, but again, I've got Ender 3 fatigue, and I think most of us do for whatever reason. Creality has, again, another habit of releasing things into the market, fairly broken. Okay, test it yourselves, guys. Have fun. Off you go. And then you point a whole bunch of things out, and they go, "I'll tell you what we're doing. Version 2. That's version 2." And you go, "Oh, okay. What about us? We bought version 1." And they're like, "Oh, get version 2." That's where somewhere like Prusa, for instance, even though they are certainly more expensive machines, and I've seen a couple in the wild. A couple of people I know certainly have printed with Prusa machines, and they they are great machines. They're fantastic machines, but I think where their selling point really stands is your ability to have a Prusa machine and have the ability to upgrade it as the years go by, releasing kits for various upgrades for the printers. That's a fantastic thing. Creality probably not going to get down that path. I'm still hopeful that that CFS kit that they've been working on is going to be good, and we'll be able to get some multicolor filaments in this. I was on the fence with the K2. I think that's a bit of an overkill printer. I just wanted it because it looked cool. It was big, fantastic. But I think 300 cubed on this printer is pretty fantastic. As I say though, there are some quirks. Even though it is fast, it is a really fast printer, and it can print, like there is no tomorrow. Certainly the test Vinci that comes onto it, that printed in about 18 minutes. That thing, I was there going, what? That's some crazy, man. That's crazy.
So you loco right here.
Carlito.
Right now in broad daylight, yo.
Carlito, no.
And it printed really well. I was surprised. I mean, even on my little Ender here, which I pushed a little bit, and I was sometimes getting maybe the best bench I could get down to was like 40 minutes. Not the worst, but this is another level. A Core XY machine like this can go up to sort of 600 millimeters a second with 20,000 square is amazing. That is quite an astonishing little feat, but truth be told, that's not the be-all and end-all, and you're really not going to be printing that fast with this. You are going to be printing at around the sort of 200-300 millimeters a second, which is fine. That's still really fast, and you're going to get really good results from it. Yes, there are some caveats and quirks in that, notably in the sense that the build plate on these can be a little bit like that, a little bit warped. You know, and I think that's just a case of how the actual build plates are made. I've seen options on AliExpress to potentially upgrade to an actual milled out solid bit of aluminum to kind of mitigate some of those issues. But I followed their tutorials. You know, I went onto Corellity's YouTube channel, looking at things and going, okay, let's see how we can follow their tutorial to try and level this bed a little bit. So taking off the bottom panel here and effectively releasing the belt tension on these two lead screws, and trying to get them back into place. Even then, I still had a build plate that was like this. The best solution was sort of looking at this and going, well, actually, you can just unscrew that, and screw the back here, and just put some shims. Choose the highest point. In this case, the highest point was on my right hand corner here. Leaving that one blank and then just raising the other two to effectively meet that. Is it the best solution? Definitely not. But I've now got a fairly level build plate, and now it prints certainly, first layers, etc. really, really well. And you can get some large prints out of it. One of the cool prints that I've been working on at the moment is a TPU ground control point. This is for doing drone photogrammetry, an aerial target, survey this point in, and a large build volume like this is where it really comes into its own. You want something large enough, something robust enough, and I think TPU on this works really well. Again, another caveat. This is a machine full of caveats. One of those caveats being that when I first printed TPU, for whatever reason, I went from a Area 1 matte PLA to TPU, and it ended up clogging in the nozzle. And I thought, okay, so I sort of heated things up, got a needle, popped that through, popped another one through on the top, trying to release it, see where the clog was. That led me down to one of the most frustrating times of my life. Taking the shroud off, then having to remove the board that's in the tool head. Now, this is a board that is in this, and it is a fantastic little board, certainly for input shaping, etc. But the way it is positioned, and it's positioned like that, you've got these connectors down at the bottom here that have been hot glued. But for you to get access to take out the hot end, you've got to remove the connectors on this, get this out, to be able to then access these screws at the top here. And my God, why is there so much hot glue? There's hot glue everywhere, man. It is insane how much hot glue is there. And it makes me nervous. And I broke the connector on it because I'm not gentle. I'm a big man. Big man. And it was a little bit tricky, to say the least. The problem, however, was not in the hot end; it was actually in the extruder itself. And so here we go. This is what the extruder actually looks like. Unlike the earlier versions, which certainly had plastic gears in it and didn't have this compression fitting here. It's fantastic. I think it's quite good. But for whatever reason, the CPU had actually decided, as it goes through this little portion here coming out here, had decided to wrap itself around the gear in here. So it was smooth, man. It was way too smooth. Nothing was feeding. I had to take that out, disassemble that, take the screws off this, and pop this. Well, you can do it here. I've already unscrewed it a little bit, but unscrew it. Not the best. Not the best. So now that all of that was fixed, was it printing well? Yes. Yes, it certainly was. I did a couple of more elaborate little prints. We have an Australopithecus here, going back to some archaeology. Not the obligatory dragons and things like that, but certainly a very complex little print. But it printed so well, even with support. And I printed it like this. you know, with only this portion here touching the build plate to get some support in there, and it printed so well. This is certainly one of the best prints that I've ever done, and I thought, well, let's take it a step further. Let's get the tongue child. We're going to get a collection of skulls because it's fascinating. You know, most of which, you know, certainly this one's from Stoke-on-Trent, where I had the privilege of doing some research while I was at university. And this is a again really fantastic little print. We have a cat skull here that was printed out of the carbon fiber PLA, which just looks cool, yeah, and worked so well. Had a really good time with that, and I think the quality kind of speaks for itself. To a little bit more interesting designs, I think, in some ways. We had this TPU case that I designed, this pencil case for popping in your backpack as you're on the go. Put your pens in it, but you know, using flexible filaments. Your pens ain't coming out of that, and it works. Worked really well. And for it to print, which was like this, straight up, and it worked really well. Yes, there is some ghosting. Things I've been kind of tinkering with as I've gone along, but that's user error. That's not wholeheartedly the printer. Do I think you're going to get some better quality out of something like Bamboo Lab? Yeah, very likely. You know, I think Bamboo Lab printers have become effectively the DJI, the gold standard of the printer world. But I don't like what they've been doing recently. I think closing off their firmware is not always the best thing. I've certainly had it with DJI over the years, and one of the big things that I always enjoyed about some of the earlier Phantom drones was DJI would release their SDKs, so you could use third-party apps for mission planning when you're doing photogrammetry missions, to now them effectively locking off most of that. So you can't do that unless you really go up to the enterprise level, in which case you're just using Pilot 2, and not the best thing. Understand why they're doing it, and understand that my issue is less to do with handing over personal data and things like that. At this point in time, I've gone, what, okay, fine. Not always the best approach to take, but I don't like that you can't tinker. Tinker with things. I enjoy tinkering with things. I enjoy being able to read the firmware, and to Creality's credit, that is something you can do. Be aware that if you do root the firmware on this, you are, no longer under their protection, their watchful eye. You do it at your own risk. But I think the reward is certainly there. These machines, I think, have reached a level where this is a tool for me now. I've had more print successes than I've had failures, and things that I know other printers have certainly had some issues with is, the camera that I've got. There was an early quirk when I first got this that I was on sort of Creality print, and I just couldn't see my camera. It just wouldn't connect. The printer kept disconnecting, etc., and I just couldn't see the camera itself. I was really annoyed by that, but they pushed an update. No longer have that issue. When you are sort of on Creality print itself and you're sort of looking at the camera, it works really well. The time lapses, and I'll sort of snip in a little bit of the time lapses into this video. They're really cool. I love being able to do that. I love being able to monitor. I think the LED light that it does have at the top here works really well. I think it's a well-built machine. It feels solid. Yes, you've got some plastic on the side, but you've got glass here and glass on the top. And by and large, it works really well. The cooling's great. A lot of things are really cool. I will be switching over to this new nozzle. I want to test it out. I'm not sure if there's going to be much of a difference between this and what is already in here, which is that standard silver one that they've got. So I kind of want to see. And I did replace over to the hardened steel nozzles. This came with a brass nozzle, switched over to that. I've got a couple of the nozzle sets, so I've got a couple of 0.4, 0.6, and a 0.8 nozzle, and I want to play around with that. I think a build volume like this warrants at least testing out something like that. But overall, what a fantastic printer. It does what it says on the tin, and as you know, I mean, you can get really big prints out of it. you know, something like this, even a couple of years or trying to get this between my little Ender 3, would have been just unheard of. This is a little fridge door insert for my parents. Um, you know, most children bring their, or at least pay for their parents' retirements or take them on nice holidays. I rock up and go, I printed you a shelf insert for your fridge, and walk out of there like a ratio cane. But by and large, just a good printer, really good printer. I think if you're in the market for one and you can get it for a good price, because I've seen a lot of these K1 Maxes on special, certainly here in the UK, for just under £600, which is pretty good. It's certainly a lot cheaper than your Bamboo Lab printers. I think what you get on it, really good. One little thing as well is I'm not quite sure about this AI LiDAR. It's not a true LiDAR in the strictest sense. I've printed with and without it, and honestly, I don't know if it's doing anything. I want to believe it does because it looks cool. Yeah, when the little laser comes on and when it actually scans and calibrates itself, I'm thinking, wow, this is sick.
So is it any wonder people are afraid of technology? Technology!
You know, coming from, again, drones where, you play around with LiDAR, this I'm like, whoa, I want that. I want that in my prints. Put it in there. Is it effective? I don't know. I think I need to explore some testing on that and actually see and, explore this printer a little bit further. But, first impressions overall, what a great printer. And I think if you, as I say, if you can find one for a really good price, take it, go. Yeah, run with it. Core XY machines, they're compact enough. It's pretty silent. It doesn't make a hell of a lot of noise. And I don't see a lot of people actually mentioning this, but the options that you have in Creality Print to actually go, whether you're going to go into silent mode or sort of ultra fast, etc., and the steps in between, choosing those is really good. Because you slap on a print overnight, put it on quiet mode. I've got a downstairs neighbour that's he's a little bit testy, often has to say things. And when this was going full tilt, I used to have it on this table, and the input shaping, my God, did it do its job. When it goes through its initial calibration, it's to set up. It's about 11 minutes or so where it does the input shaping and the bed leveling. I think the input shaping is phenomenal on this, because this table was genuinely shaping like this as this thing was printing, and it was flawless. I was getting really great prints. I did switch it over to my windowsill over there, just because it was a more solid little base for it to be on. But again, these are things that we kind of expect nowadays. We expect printers to have input shaping. We expect it to, certainly be running on some level of comparable to Clipper, or at least running on the back end of Clipper. Because that's where we're at. I'm quite excited to see what Bamboo Labs and Creality has in store for the future. I think it's about time Bamboo Labs did release some of their new printer, whatever that's going to look like, because I think that's going to be pretty cool. But for now, and at least for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be sticking with Creality. I'm not a big fan, as I say, of their YouTube tutorials. Creality, I think you need to do better. I think the tutorials you've got kind of are a little bit misleading, because yes, but the information's correct. It's all there. But, even with the hot glue, you're definitely using a different type of hot glue in that video to what's actually in this machine. You've got like a white hot glue there that looks like it just peels off. This stuff is like hard as rock. It's insane, and it makes you a little bit wary to get into the actual tool head itself or other places. But, these are minor things. The printer does function as a tool at this point. It does what it needs to do, and that to me is just mind-boggling. That is where we need to be with 3D printing. And so, what have we got in store? Down the line, I want to start, printing some mods for this thing, because the actual door is a little bit problematic. I know on the K1C, they've actually got dampeners in the door now. This is a little bit too loose, so I want to get some hinges printed to actually have that lie flat. Another, obviously, it becomes a big cause of contention. All of the filament mounts at the back. I've ceased using that. Yes, it does come with a print to print the side spool holder, which I had on there for a little bit, but I've started using a filament dryer sort of exclusively to print from, mostly because the UK is damp. I come from South Africa. Things were nice and dry. In the winter, it was lovely. Coming here, and I'm in a bloody rainforest in this little apartment of mine.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
And it's a grade 2 listed building, so we've got single glazed windows. They are horrendous, and there's water everywhere. So even in the back there, I've got all my TPU and my PETG and things like that stored in the dryer box, and even my PLAs have started to have some issues. I've got a couple of weird exotic filaments that, my goodness, are old, and they have sadly passed on at this point. I had some wood filaments from a brand called Zen. I believe it's a South African brand. Zen PLA. They're sort of wood PLA. This stuff was really good. It smelled fantastic when it printed, but right now it just, I don't know. It's a little bit iffy. And the worst filament that I've got at the moment is my Eason E-Steel filament. I never got a chance to print as much with this because I did one print with this and it destroyed my brass nozzle, and I never got around to getting a hardened steel. But unfortunately, I left it a little bit too long, I think. And when I tried to dry it, this stuff just snaps now. It bubbles up and boils, and it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, so I haven't tried to print any, nylon filaments or anything like that yet. I've stuck almost exclusively to PETG and PLA, but had great success with it. I think it's great, and the same goes for TPU. I think TPU is really good. It is 95A TPU, so I want to go down a little bit and see how it handles that. I know a lot of people have also had a few issues, and I printed some mods to raise the glass top here to stop the Bowden tube here sort of compressing on itself, or the PTFS tube. But I haven't actually had much of an issue with that. I think it's all right. I think the way it sits, yes, it is a harsh angle. Yes, if your filament is a little bit brittle, it will snap, and that's what happened to the E-Steel. But it's not a deal breaker for me. These are things that can be solved and fixed in the future. Overall, though, what a great printer. And I'm excited to see and do more with it because I think it's going to be fun. So yeah, stick around. You don't have to like or subscribe, but if you enjoyed yourselves here, then by all means. And I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers.